Hail and well met, adventurers. I am the Dungeon Master, and I bid thee welcome to the return of an old Let's Play. Let us play Biohazard, known outside of Japan as
Resident Evil.
Indeed. A very fitting title. Now, it has been several months since I followed Chris Redfield of the S.T.A.R.S Alpha team as he attempted to survive the tumultuous events of what is known throughout the biohazard lore as the Mansion Incident. And since then, this Let's Play adventure has kind of collected dust as it sat on the hiatus shelf for quite a while now. However, I am brushing off the dust and going to explore the events of what happened to his companion, Jill Valentine. I originally attempted her adventure not so long ago, but due to technical reasons I had to put Biohazard on the back burner for the time being. But now this Let's Play series shall be featured on my channel in the afternoon slot at precisely 1 PM. It is, this isn't going to be a fairly easy feat, as you all remember. For those of you who are new or those of you who are not, allow me to, first of all, give an overview as to the backstory of Biohazard itself, and ultimately the direction of this particular Let's Play of it. Biohazard is a survival horror action-adventure game that was created by Shinji Mikami, developed by Capcom, and released in 1996 for the Sony PlayStation. And since then has left a legacy 20 years. Definitely spanning over 20 years now. As to the backstory of Biohazard, it actually takes place on July 24th, 1998. For roughly 2 months, there have been a series of inexplicable bizarre murders on the outskirts of an urban suburb known as Raccoon City. These murders have taken place in the forest area northwest of the city and the remote Arklay Mountains. After some point, the RPD, the Raccoon Police Department, were forced to conclude that they weren't going to solve the Arklay murders on their own, and eventually dispatched an elite Special Forces unit attached to them, the Special Tactics and Rescue Service, otherwise known as S.T.A.R.S, to which Chris Redfield and Jill Valentine belong to on its premier Alpha team. The B team, the Bravo team, almost said Beta there for a second. The Bravo team was dispatched on July 23rd to search and rescue missing persons who were still undiscovered in the remote recesses of Arklay and the forest. With evidence of cannibalism as well as possible signs of wolves or other grisly creatures maiming and killing locals and tourists alike, the Bravo team was dispatched post-haste. Unfortunately, not long after, all contact with the Bravo team was lost completely, and the next evening the Alpha team were dispatched to search and rescue the missing Bravo team and essentially pick up their mission where they left off, little realizing the nightmare that awaits them in Arklay, far from safety and civilization. Now, as with Chris Redfield's scenario, I'm going to be playing Jill Valentine's scenario via real survival. What real survival is that I will not be using auto aim. Indeed, I will be using manual aim only, which is a given. But the other thing is that the item boxes in which one can store items picked up along the way are due to making the gameplay a little bit more easier for new players. Capcom decided to implement a Z-axis feature in which doesn't matter where you are in the world of Biohazard, it's as long as you're at an item box, you can just take the items from other item boxes without having to backtrack. This was not originally intended for the original version of Biohazard, and this real survival feature saw prescience in prescience? Saw a resurgence, shall we say, in the 2002 Nintendo GameCube remake of Biohazard, which has to be unlocked before you can actually play it the way that it was originally meant to be played, in which the item boxes are not linked. So if you put an item in a certain item box, you can only get that item from that item box. If you're elsewhere, you basically have to do a lot of backtracking, which Biohazard is ultimately infamous for. And I seem to recall that it was actually quite difficult playing on Chris's story, because his is the harder of the two. Because while Chris has higher health, in which he can actually take more damage from enemies and creatures, he, for some reason, happened to have a lower inventory carrying space, don't know why, and he couldn't do certain skills that he needed. Essentially one of the sole surviving members of Bravo Team, Rebecca Chambers, in order to help him out with. This is not the case for Jill Valentine, fortunately. Of course, that being the case, the trade-off is that Jill Valentine is far more susceptible to damage than Chris's, which, while her scenario was relatively easier than Chris's, it is not without its drawbacks. But I will be doing this on real survival stipulations once again to make a real challenge for myself. So this is going to take a while. Indeed, this is not a speed run. This is not a speed run. This is a real survival let's play adventure. So without further ado, let us enter the world of survival horror once again and live the nightmare of the mansion incident. 1998, July, Raccoon Forest. We've already seen this intro. They have escaped into the mansion, where they thought it was safe. Yet.
What is this?
Wow, what a mansion!
Captain Wesker, where's Chris?
Stop it! Don't open that door!
But Chris is...
What is it?
Maybe it's Chris. Now, Jill, can you go?
I'm going with you. Chris is our old partner, you know.
Okay, let me handle this. Stay alert!
A dining room.
And with that, we are now in the world of Biohazard proper. Sadly, the original Biohazard has no pause function. This was implemented from Biohazard 2 onwards, so again, that's a bit of an inconvenience, but a minor one at that. So now we're here at the main menu, but before I examine the inventory, I shall point out a few things. First of all, Chris is now missing, and we have to go search for him after the debacle with the dogs outside. Second of all, I believe I mentioned this previously in the first failed attempt at Let's Playing Jill's scenario, but and I believe I mentioned this in Chris's as well, but Jill's scenario was actually the very first, was the first scenario that I saw back in 1996 for the very first time when I first saw Biohazard with my own eyes, as one of my cousin's friends was playing it. And for me, from there, the rest is history, but you don't need to know about that just yet. I will elaborate more as this series progresses, but for now, it's a bit of a moot point. But in the place of Chris Redfield is the previously missing Barry Burton, another member of the Alpha team, and Jill's companion, in the same way that Rebecca Chambers is Chris's companion and helper. But instead of healing, Barry Burton is more of a firearms expert, and trust me, his skills and his weapons are legendary. Barry Burton is also pretty much essentially the most beloved character in all of Biohazard history, as we will ultimately see. He is the most infamous for the cheesy dialogue and the rather hilarious yet horrendous voice acting, which mars Biohazard's history. But he is an iconic character, and he has a cult following, almost as large as the cult following for the original Biohazard game itself. But your Valentine has 3 items in her possession: a Beretta, which she has immediately because Chris lost his and had to have Jill's when she disappeared, the ever-useless combat knife, which is pretty ridiculous, and a healing item in the form of the first aid spray. We can equip weapons, or we can examine items, and we can actually combine them. We can't do that yet. There's no point in doing that yet. But the handgun is the Beretta M92FS, automatic, loaded with 9mm bullets. Believe it or not, this gun is actually known rather quaintly as the Samurai Edge. Even though in later Biohazard titles, there are modified versions of the Beretta, which are also known as the Samurai Edge. But the Samurai Edge refers to this Beretta in particular as manufactured by the Kendo gun shop in Raccoon City. And this is our first basic weapon. We want to equip this at all costs. It is our first line of defense, because as I said moments ago, the combat knife itself is completely useless. This doesn't seem to be enough for this mission. Of course it's not. This knife is really not that useful. First aid spray, definitely useful. I can heal any wound with this. Indeed. But enough standing around. We should explore this dining room and follow Barry to where he's going. It's a rather quaint looking dining room, I'd say.
What? What is this?
What is it?
Blood. Jill, see if you can find any other clues. I'll be examining this. Hope this is not Chris's blood.
Now, something that has been said is that Biohazard, for a game that was made in 1996, is rather dated at this point in 2018. But I would actually have to disagree with that, because for a game made in 1996, I believe it actually holds up rather well. And the voice acting, while cheesy, is still rather iconic. Barry is investigating the blood. And we can examine this here, above the fireplace. It seems we can remove it. Will you take the emblem? I actually don't see any reason to take it now. It's, no, it doesn't really have any significance. In fact, we're supposed to be searching for Bravo Team dinner utensils, and it's eerily quiet. Actually, I'm going to before I head through that door over there, on the opposite side of the dining room, I'm actually going to examine the window. It's dark outside and I can't see very far. We can't get a glimpse of the dogs that inadvertently chased us in the mansion. By the way, a helicopter pilot, Brad Vickers, has abandoned us completely, leaving us here in Arklay to fend for ourselves. But the gunfire clearly came from this side of the mansion, so the only way forward is in this room and further east, west. We have a map function, and if my sense of direction is not failing me, we are in the west wing of the mansion, even though I don't think we are technically facing west. But I'll head around this corridor and see if we can't find... And a very good day to you, sir. We want to run away from you as fast as possible, because, you were devouring someone. Someone very important to us.
Barry?
What is it?
Watch out! It's a monster!
Let me take care of this. What is it?
Kenneth was killed too. Maybe by this creature. Anyway, let's report this to Wesker.
So it seems like the S.T.A.R.S have lost a man in the form of Bravo team member Kenneth Sullivan, who is actually the oldest S.T.A.R.S member at 45, and he is actually built pretty much, he has the same physique as Barry Burton, and yet even he, of his age and physique, was overpowered and killed and even decapitated by that lone zombie, which should be an indication of just how strong these creatures are. These ghoulish zombies that apparently inhabit this mansion. So we're not just worrying about dogs at this point. Two things to note. First of all, I apologize for any sound glitches. That's not just the emulation, that's also an unfortunate side effect of the recording software Bandicam, though while useful, it's not always perfect. But now what was the second thing I was going to say? Maybe it will come back to me. Oh yeah, the scene where there is a lot of censoring and biohazard between the localizations. There were a few things that were censored. One of them being the first zombie scene, because in the original encounter you actually see Kenneth's devoured head in the cutscene, but it was removed in localization. I'll leave it up there, but first we have to, well, when I say leave it up there, I'll leave it on my previous playthrough, but now it's time to warn Wesker.
Wesker! Help me look for him, Jill. And don't leave this hall for the time being.
First Chris, then Kenneth, and now Wesker. Barry is going to search the corridor up there and stairs, so we should probably search behind the stairs, and it doesn't appear to be anything under the stairs, no hidden passageways or anything. He doesn't seem to be here.
Find anything, Jill?
Nothing. What is this all about? I can't figure it out at all.
Beats me, too.
Now it's Wesker's time to disappear. I don't know what's going on.
Well, it can't be helped. Let's search for him separately. I'll check the dining room again.
Okay, I'll try the door on the opposite side.
This mansion is gigantic. We could get into trouble if we get lost. We should start from the first floor, okay? And... Jill, here's a lockpick. It might be handy if you, the master of unlocking, take it with you.
Thanks. Maybe I'll need it.
No. Listen, if something happens, let's meet up in this hall. This time I'll be there.
Barry Burton heads off back to the west wing of the mansion, and once again apologies for the sound clipping. But very cheese-tastic dialogue there. Barry Burton referring to Jill Valentine as the master of unlocking. Now, I believe in a demo exhibition of Biohazard you actually saw the lockpick in Jill's possession, actually taking up an inventory slot, but we can't access the lockpick, but Jill automatically has it in lieu of the she has this in lieu of the small keys that Chris Redfield needs to access certain areas and certain doors. Speaking of Chris, we're actually going to do the one thing that Wesker told us not to do, and open the door. Let's see what's outside. Oh. Bad dog. The dogs are still outside. The dogs that murdered Joseph Frost and chased us in here. It's too dangerous to go outside. Indeed it is. Can't go that way. Well, this main hall is safe for now, but the mansion is not our friend, nor our sanctuary. There is one other item to note here, which is the typewriter. Next to it is the all-important ink ribbon. It isn't a healing item, but it does serve a purpose. We can save our progress with the typewriter. Will we use the ink ribbon? No. No, we will not. We only get 2 ink ribbons. There are several typewriters scattered throughout the mansion. They are as useful as the item boxes. Very much so. But there are actually 2 doors on the east side of the mansion. There is this door over here, which is locked. Apparently the door has a carving of armor on it. But we want to head into this door here, opposite the dining room. And with that, the night has truly begun. I do love the original music of Biohazard. Very classic for 1996. There is a statue of a woman drawing water, with an urn on her shoulder, and what appears to be a few portraits around here. Jill doesn't have anything to say about that, nothing useful. And more sound glitching. A beautiful oil painting. So essentially this is some kind of art room. And a couple of doors over here. One that's blocked by a chest of some kind, not an item box, by the way. Picture of a chubby woman. Let's push this and see what's inside this room. There are many rooms inside the mansion, all with their own sense of danger. There is a body down there, but something tells me that it is not entirely dead, given our previous encounter. There is actually nothing here but another set of ink ribbons, which we're going to take, bringing our total up to 4. It's always good to accumulate ink ribbons, and I don't like to provoke things needlessly, so we're going to ignore you entirely. I don't entirely trust you myself. Oh, Bandicam, why must you torment me so? But there is one other thing that is worth getting. That is up here. Using these conveniently placed stairs to go up to the statue, we we can retrieve the scroll in the urn. It's a map of first floor. Will you take it? Of course we'll take the map of first floor. Need to know what lies inside this mansion after all. This music is the perfect fitting for the situation. And this mansion is gigantic, as Barry says. We definitely have a lot of exploration to do. We've only explored the best part of 4 rooms, well 5 rooms, including the main hall, which is our home base for now, our base of operations and our rendezvous point. Let's keep exploring the mansion, and in place of the sword key, which is the key that we need to open this door, Jill can automatically open it with her trusty lockpick. Long corridor. See what's in here. Creepy stuff. Creepy stuff indeed. Oh, I wonder if we can move some of these. No, we cannot. That is apparently bolted. But I wonder if we can move this chest. Let's do it. Is there anything under here? No, there isn't. So we'll just keep going. Oh, and the dogs are inside the mansion. And there is a second dog. And with impressive flailing skills, Jill Valentine manages to avoid the 2 killer dogs that just broke into the mansion. Well, going through that corridor is going to be a bit of a pain, and there is something in the corner here. Will you take the green herb? I don't see why not, but for new players of Biohazard, especially those who originally played this back in 1996, the significance of the herb is not known at this point. And this is another door with a carving of armor on it, for which we do not have the key, and Jill's lockpick cannot break through. So this corridor seems to be safe of any present dangers. What appears to be a well-decorated bathroom here. Looks like people in this mansion actually had the modicum of style. Though having said that, there doesn't appear to be anything in this room whatsoever. No zombies or dogs or useful items. There is absolutely nothing in this room. But it does have a practical purpose. You can say that much. And down this rather narrow corridor. This corridor is very narrow indeed. And more eerie silence. That's the thing about Biohazard. It actually utilizes silence very, very easily. Now, there is a room over there, but I'm actually not going to go into it. Instead, I'm going to go through here. Keep exploring the rest of the... Oh, there is a zombie, and quickly, at least that door was locked from... could be unlocked from this side. There is another zombie waiting for us over there. We aim by holding down R1. You are not dead. Now you are. With 8 bullets left. That's not a good sign. There appears to be another herb here, which is fairly useful, and a room under the stairs. Let us see what is inside. Lo and behold, it's Might be very rudimentary, but it does have a typewriter in here, which is fairly useful. It has some items over here. One of them we can pick up. But we don't necessarily want to take it for the moment. But over here is an item box in which we can store items. And speaking of item storage, we have two convenient clips of handgun ammo. 9mm bullets for our trusty Beretta. Which I'm actually going to combine together. And one final stipulation is that you can actually reload two ways. You can reload automatically in the menu by combining your weapon with the ammo that goes with it, or you can reload in real time. I'm going to try and do that as much as possible. I know, ballsy at that, but this is real survival. I'll put the ink ribbon away, as well as the first aid spray and the combat knife, but I shall take the two green herbs with me, or maybe not. Maybe we should, want to make this a little bit interesting, so I might actually keep the first aid spray on me for the time being anyway, because we know it will come in handy. And I believe that will be it for this particular episode of Let's Play Biohazard. I know I could save at this point, but I think I'll conserve the 4 ink ribbons that I have for the time being until I get some more. Always want to be cautious. So when we return, adventurers, we shall continue exploring the first, well, we've essentially explored most of the first floor of the mansion, so I guess the probably the sensible thing to do is actually go back to the main hall and tell Barry of what we have found. As always, adventurers, until next we meet.